Hey, friendo, Steve here. So AEW Revolution is in the books, and we still have Jon Moxley as your AEW World Attaché case. He still got the briefcase with the AEW World title allegedly inside of it. But aside from that match, holy crap, what a pay-per-view. If you want to listen to my entire podcast-length thoughts on AEW Revolution, it's over at the other channel, youtube.com/Steven Larson. I even gave it some star ratings along with Larson over at the Friendo Club Wrestling channel. But this is WrestleJuice. I want to hear your reactions to AEW Revolution. We'll go ahead and start off with Canal Zero, who says, worst AEW main event in history. So we're going to go negative first. Okay, we could do that. We could totally do that. Yeah, it probably was. I know other people have pointed to, for example, the exploding barbed wire death match finale where, what was it, like Kenny Omega and, who was it, Mox? I just had to look that one up. Yeah, it was Kenny and Mox. And then Kingston came out at the end. That was a really funny finish anyways. So yeah, that was not as bad because that match was actually pretty good. That was a good Mox match. Some people have pointed to Jay White versus MJF. I think it was Full Gear 2023 when MJF ostensibly had like one leg and he put on like a 30-minute match against Jay White and he ended up beating Jay White. That was kind of ridiculous as well. This was, look, man, especially given that this pay-per-view up until that match and taking out the Hurt Syndicate match, this pay-per-view really illustrated what strengths AEW has. They had just a wonderful feud/story of the year level deal with Toni Storm and Mariah May. Yeah, just an absolutely killer cage match, payoff match between Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. You had Kenny and Takeshita just absolutely killing it for 26 minutes. Yeah, just top to bottom. MJF Hangman. It was all really good stuff. And then you wheel out these two old WWE guys doing WWE things. Look, you guys know me. I'm a huge WWE guy. 90% of the videos on this channel are WWE guys or WWE videos. But that was a match I could have done without. I've actually not been terribly disinterested. Like when they brought Cope into the Mox thing, I was like, all right, okay, they're going to do that at Revolution. It's two guys with some name value, guys who have been at WrestleMania, one of which is main event at WrestleMania. And I don't know, something about the actual feud kind of worked for me because they got good chemistry. And then when they get in the ring together, it's just the old man thing happens where they do a move and then they just milk it and they just walk around forever. And they do another move and they just milk it and they walk around forever. And then you got that ridiculous end, how AEW's first real Money in the Bank winner, Christian, another old dude, shows up and he loses on his cash-in attempt. So they get rid of that thing. So I don't know, man. The match just did not cut it for me. Is it the worst main event for a pay-per-view in AEW history? Probably AEW does have a really good track record with their pay-per-views. It's rare they put on a stinker, especially in the main event. So, yeah. Mox versus Jake Hager, that was just on Dynamite, I think, right? I think that was on Dynamite. Yeah, that was not a pay-per-view main event match. So, yeah, probably the worst match in AEW main event pay-per-view history. That being said, we get to move on now to Swerve versus Mox, and anything Swerve touches is gold. So, I'm cool with that. Let's just move on. Parsath says women's title should have main evented, closing on the crappy ending of the men's world title match. Hurt. What was an overall good show? Yeah. I mean, dude, Toni Storm and Mariah May went 13 minutes. Not a lot of time, about half as much as the last three matches on the card. And granted, that story was, in fact, the final act of their story, or that match was the final act of their story. And so maybe it didn't need 30 minutes. But man, they made the most of that 13 minutes. It was a wonderful match. It was awesome. It was super violent. And it had such an amazing end production-wise, how the camera goes out and you see the end there. Just really, really phenomenal stuff. You're in Hollywood. It's supposed to be a Hollywood ending match. And then that's how you end it. You had the perfect opportunity, Tony Khan, to do something really special with your pay-per-view. You open the show with Mox and Cope, get that out of the way. You got all those banger matches after that, and then you end on Toni versus Mariah. You really build that up for a big match to feel the way it should. There was zero reason for the AEW World title to main event Revolution when you had Toni and Mariah and that blow-off, knowing what you had coming for that. So that was a real big ball drop, but that match was absolutely phenomenal. It was great. One of my match of the year candidates. Might be my match of the year candidate right now that we're in early March. Still a lot of time left in the year, but boy, oh boy, I love that match. Brigham J. Jessen says, Mox's title run has hurt the overall product, and keeping the belt on him won't get the reaction Toni wants when someone finally pries it off him. Au contraire, I think people will be very, very happy to see the Death Riders end, to see this story. So you'll get both the pop of the popularity of whoever it is, be it Swerve or Darby Allin or maybe Will Ospreay. You'll get that pop because those three guys are popular. And then on top of that, they will have saved us from this title reign finally. So I think you will still get a huge pop when the title change happens. And on top of that, one disagreement I have with this hot take, Brigham, is that they have, over this feud anyways, the Cope Mox one, they've kind of dialed it back so it doesn't permeate every episode of Dynamite. And I can appreciate that. They have emphasized the things that have worked better. Toni Storm gets more time. Swerve gets more time. Hangman gets more time. They've been putting feuds together that make a lot of sense, like Ospreay and Fletcher, like MJF and Hangman. They've been doing stuff that makes more sense. It's just, you get that last thing is that AEW World title. You got to put that in the hands of one of them three guys that I just mentioned, or maybe Hangman. And then you're off to the races. Then you can really build for your future. Aussie Horror says WWE dropped the ball with Toni Storm in a monolithic way. From a storytelling and in-ring perspective, Storm's absolutely in the conversation for best women's wrestler in history. I love that word, monolithic. That's a good one. Yeah, dude. So here's my thing about the idea that WWE dropped the ball with Toni Storm. I think sometimes some places are simply a better fit for certain wrestlers. And that's not really a knock. Look, I do think that Vince dropped the ball because Vince was booking the show when Toni was around. And he was booking the show back then. And clearly well, I don't know. If the timeless Toni gimmick is something she came up with back then, they probably still would have dropped the ball with it. Some places are just better fits for people. You know, like Cody was ostensibly doing the Cody stuff in AEW. They gave him a lot of freedom there because he was like one of the EVPs. And what did he do with his own creative there? He kind of ran it into the ground. And then he shows up back in WWE, and that system understood what to do with him better than he understood what to do with him. Toni, they didn't understand what to do with her, but she understood what to do. And in coordination with Tony Khan and the talent they have there, it just fit better. Sometimes people simply fit in different places better than they do in other. I'll give you another example in AEW, Jay White. I just don't know that Jay White is the right fit for AEW. I kind of feel like, I remember back when he got signed, there was like that hiring freeze because some of the Vince stuff was happening. I don't know exactly what was going on, but it seemed like Jay White might have been going to WWE and then they just stopped hiring people. And so he ended up going to AEW. Now, I don't know if that's actually true. Maybe he was dying to go to AEW. I don't know. But I mean, come on, the last couple of months, he's basically been, his gimmick has been Adam Copeland's #1 fan. And that is not really a good role for Jay White. He was used so properly in New Japan. He was awesome in New Japan. I can't speak to how WWE would use him or wouldn't use him. I have no idea. But certain people are just a better fit in certain promotions. And that's just the way they handle their creative. And that's not a knock on anybody. So to say she was a ball drop in WWE, was she? Yeah, probably. But I don't know, to have discovered this timeless character and to have the freedom in AEW to run with it was high risk, high reward, and we ended up getting the reward aspect of it. So, yeah, and I'm not shilling or defending WWE. They've had plenty of ball drops. Don't get me wrong. And Toni Storm was the big one. But I don't know that that would have been a good fit for that character or that wrestler. AEW seems to be a damn good fit for it. Raisin Brand X Swag says, just make Ospreay the face of the company at this point. Give him the world title already. Puts on incredible matches every Dynamite, every pay-per-view. Don't understand why he's still in the mid-card. Yeah, he's super popular too. Look, I feel like by the time we're done with 2025, because look, if Darby ends up winning that title off of Mox, let's say in July, I feel like he's not going to have that title for a very long time. I don't know that it's going to be Will Ospreay taking it off him, because Will Ospreay is a good guy and Darby's a good guy, and I don't know if they would do that. But yeah, he's going to be the face of the company. I mean, he's essentially the face of the company right now. I don't think you got to be the champion in order to be the face of the company, but he will be their champion probably several times over by the time all is said and done, and he goes back to the WWE. Shit, I was trying to make a WWE joke there, and then I flubbed it. Juicy Oosie says Christian should have won that match. He deserves better. No, I don't think so. No, I like Christian well enough, but I feel like he peaked as bad guy heel like 2 years ago or whenever it was. He was at peak making fun of people with dead parents. He hasn't done shit. They don't have him doing shit lately. And I kind of feel like that gimmick of his has kind of run its course. I don't know what's going on there, but boy, he has not been used very much lately. He won that contract 6 months ago. I don't think him being the guy to dethrone Mox in an opportunistic cash-in would be the way to go. So, hey, that's a hot take for you, though. That is a hot take. Argonaut Arcade says, hot take. Apparently, the past few Mercedes Mone matches, including tonight's, have been solid, and she gets an unnecessary amount of hate and hypercriticism. Yeah, I agree with this one. And I think that is kind of a hot take because a lot of people are very anti-Mercedes Mone, and I kind of don't understand why. The matches range from good to really damn good. Check out her Statlander series. She needs a proper foil. She needs a proper feud, like an actual built feud for her that is meant for somebody like Willow to kind of dethrone her. She needs that person. Willow's been kind of here and there. She hasn't really been around very often. It looks like they're doing an Athena Mercedes thing, which is going to be awesome. That is going to be awesome. But yeah, she needs, like, the problem is they focus so much on her and they sort of leave the rest of the women's division behind. Because, like, Toni and Mariah are on their island, and hopefully that'll end, but they're off on their island. And then Mercedes just sort of like line up the opponents. We'll do this one. We'll do this one. We'll do this one. And there's not a lot of story there. And sometimes you need a story and an opposing character to really bring something out of your character. I think the closest they got was Harley Cameron. I thought that was actually a really decent, for a couple weeks. It was a pretty decent build right there. I thought they actually had kind of a story going on. And, but yeah, they need to get somebody in there that makes the division feel like it has depth to it, or at least, I'm sorry, not depth. It's got like a top of the division. If we're talking about like the TBS title scene, she needs somebody who is going to be her foil. And I think that might, if she has one killer feud, I think that'll turn a lot of opinion around on her. But I don't know. People just like to hate on Mercedes. I don't know why. I think she's terrific. Lindsay B says there were so many great matches, but it's going to be an overall negative feeling because of that last match. Ding dang. Not a great week to have a bad ending when there is an epic end to a premium live event 8 days earlier. Ding dang. I'm going to steal that one from you. Yeah, dude. I think so far the overall sentiment that I've seen is the dichotomy is had a shitty ending, killer pay-per-view otherwise. So I don't know. I think at the end of the day, when a year, 2 years has passed or whatever, I think people will look back at the matches more fondly than the actual card. I feel like people sort of do that anyways. They kind of look back at the matches, not necessarily, unless there's like epically bad cards out there. I feel like they sort of look back on the matches that were involved or the moments that were involved. But yeah, I feel like people are allowed to have kind of a gray area feeling about something. And in this case, I feel like it's going to be more of a gray area where it's, hey, here's a lot of really great shit. And then they had a really epically bad main event. I feel like that's going to be the thing. But yeah, trying to compete with what they did with John Cena, you don't want to try to do that. And I don't think they tried to do that here. I just think they laid a great big turd in that main event. Cool Joe says, I'm a huge AEW fan, but I refuse to pay $50 to watch a premium live event. Tony had one job, get a streaming deal. Making wrestling fans pay $50 in this day and age is a slap in the face. Boy, oh boy, $50 is a lot every month. I mean, I know we used to do it back in the day, but man, the business paradigm shifted when WWE went to the WWE Network and started offering it all up for $10 a month and kept that train rolling with the Peacock stuff. Yeah, man, I understand. I really do. Wasn't there supposed to be like some sort of discounted deal on Max if you have Max? What's up with that? When are we going to get that? What? Loco Booty says, Cope not putting anyone over clean since his return in 2020 needs to be studied. Christian being inserted so Cope didn't take a pin is just a waste of the contract altogether. Okay. I agree with that last part. Waste of the contract. I will say this, though. Copeland did get stacked by Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. He was physically stacked with another human being. That right there, I think, should probably cause him to be like, I don't care where I'm going. I'm not going to eat any clean pins. Because that's ridiculous. They stacked me with I won the Royal Rumble. They didn't think it was good enough that I was main eventing WrestleMania with Roman Reigns. They added a dude, and then we got stacked. And I forget exactly who was on the bottom of that stack, but I have a sinking feeling it was Edge. Roman Reigns. Hold on a second. Roman Reigns stacks Edge. Who was on the bottom of that stack? Oh, it was Daniel Bryan. Hey, Cope, at least you weren't on the bottom of that stack. Oh, man. That was a good one. That's going to do it today, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. But there's a Raw coming up in like 10 minutes from when I'm shooting this thing. So I'm sure you guys are going to have reactions to that as well. Maybe I'll talk about that tomorrow morning. We'll see you guys around.